NATO expects future US troop reductions in Europe to take years, but the wider meaning behind the headline is much bigger than troop numbers alone. For decades after World War II, Europe relied heavily on the United States for security. American troops, American weapons, American funding, and American military leadership became the backbone of NATO and the wider Western security structure. But the Ukraine war exposed something many people had quietly ignored for years. Europe is still heavily dependent on America militarily, and now the problem for Europe is simple. America itself no longer looks fully reliable. Washington is increasingly focused on China, domestic political chaos, and economic pressures at home, while figures like President DJT have repeatedly criticized NATO and questioned why America should continue carrying so much of Europe's defense burden. In many ways, this may actually become a positive thing for Europe in the long term, because Europe now needs to stand on its own feet geopolitically. The old post-Cold War world is fading away, and we are clearly moving towards a multipolar world made up of competing regional powers and security blocs. Asia is militarizing. The Middle East remains unstable. BRICS is growing in influence. And across the globe, nations are increasingly preparing for a world where old alliances may no longer guarantee security. Europe can no longer simply assume America will always be there in the same way it was during the Cold War era. That means Europe now faces a major decision: either continue relying on a weakening and increasingly distracted security partner, or begin building genuine long-term strategic independence. And that likely means increasing defense spending, rebuilding military industries, strengthening European armed forces, developing European technology, and creating a far more independent European security structure overall. NATO may still exist, but politically it no longer looks as solid as it once did. Trust inside the alliance has weakened, priorities are shifting, and it is perfectly possible that over the coming decades, NATO either transforms dramatically or becomes something very different from the alliance the world once knew. What this story really highlights is that Europe is entering a new geopolitical era, an era where military strength and economic strength increasingly define survival. And whether Europe likes it or not, the time has now come for the continent to dig its heels in, stand independently, and begin building its own long-term security future. This has been the JR Voice. Stay tuned for more unpacking of global headlines.